If I asked you, how much time would you say it takes before you reach the maxed out level on your rifle, or perhaps maxing and gearing out your spacesuit? How much time would you say that would take? And that's exactly what I did in Elite Dangerous, one of the Space Sim Forerunner games of modern age. I took my time to take a look how much I would spend, literally in man hours, to actually get from 0 to 100, or well, at least a maxed out, fully upgraded and kitted out spacesuit. One of a few.
And I was able to take my time to make this examination thanks to the great support over at Patreon and YouTube members. So if you want to join the good supporting bunch, check out the links in the description. So before we get into things, there are a couple of things that we should probably clear up. Number 1. I did not take into account any engineering unlocking or the time it takes to do them. This one, with all the things that are not well explained for all of you, will be easier than it was for us when we started with zero knowledge on anything as to where to get or what to get. But make no mistake, it will take a long grind additionally anyways. Number 2, I only used 2 specific tools or sources to start gathering or listing the things that I needed to get. One of them was ED Engineer, a super helpful community tool that puts basically the game itself to shame, basically allowing to make a shopping list, quote unquote, for all the things that I basically need to get my hands on, and how much of all that I already got. And the other one was basically a useful picture with all the materials that I needed to gather, again done by a community member. All the links will be in the description for those. Number 3, before starting things, I made sure to sell or get rid of any and all materials I had collected thus far. Obviously, otherwise what kind of a data point would this be? And number 4, for the soul-killing, fun-ruining test, I chose to upgrade Maverick's suit. This is most definitely the most utilitarian and most used spacesuit of all 4. I would recommend, if you're mad enough to grind all this nonsense and weapons and suits and so on and so forth, to get this one first and equip it with Backpack Expander, as it will make your life a little bit easier. And so that's what I chose, as well as a few other upgrades. You can see a full list of stuff that I needed to gather and what upgrades I chose in the end for my shopping list.
Now that I was prepared, I had my shopping list done and I had written down everything that I would need, I knew I would be wasting multiple days of work. Time that I could have easily spent playing other games that I perhaps haven't tried from the past. Say Mass Effect, Psychonauts, stuff like that I perhaps skipped or overlooked. From the video title you already know, but at the time I did not expect that I would be spending 27 eye-bleaching hours just to get one spacesuit maxed out. And remember that there's just only one thing out of a few that you would be using the most. So yeah, before I go into TheYamiks rants for the next 16 hours, well, let me just tell you how I did it.
The first hour I spent gathering power regulators in the most effective manner, taking support missions and immediately abandoning them. Yes indeed, you pick a mission or 2, quickly cancel them, and net profit is a credit fine and a power regulator. And this is quality gameplay, Frontier. Then for the next hour or so I gathered manufactured instructions. So what you do is probe planets first. You find impact site with a satellite like this one. It has a data port with some material panels too. In this data port mostly what you care for is the manufactured instructions. It spawns them just fine. So after you've stood around like a bewildered chimp with shit on your face for a while the data downloads for a set amount of time. Oh, and mind you, yes, this is an arbitrary time-wasting mechanic that the designer specifically made for no other reason but to force you to waste time. I'm not kidding. This is quality gameplay, Frontier. Anyways, after the data downloads, I quit the game. Yes, I go back to main menu and relog. Boom, the data is respawning, and well, guess what? I can do the standing around and doing nothing again while it downloads. For the next hour or so, that was basically my gameplay. This is quality gameplay, Frontier. After that, I could not force focus any of the other materials quite like these two, so I decided to go to a planetary base and repeatedly raid it for all it's worth. Now I went to Iabulu Aria's mine. You can see it on the screen where it is. I first disabled alarms, then killed a bunch of people and started gathering this crap. Now, again, because designers of this great gameplay had absolutely no respect for the players or our time. After collecting very small amounts of items, you have to go and deposit it back in your ship. Or SRV. Well, luckily I had my SRV, so I did not need to walk that far, but literally every building required me to run back and forth at least once. And this is where the expanded backpack comes in handy, but to get that update it takes a lot of grinding regardless, so there is no escape. Oh, and this is quality gameplay, Frontier? After I had raided the settlement and killed anything and anyone that looked at me funny, I needed to reset the instance. Well, it seems the developers are trying to prevent people from doing what I did with the satellite, and simply relogging will just deplete any spawn and not respawn anything. So what you need to do instead is need to go back into your ship, lift off, get in supercruise, drop out of it as fast as possible, and land, finally. Then voila, the spawns are reset. This is quality gameplay, Frontier? And here I spent the next 8 hours until one of my 1000-unit storages, or pockets, was full of crap that I did not need just yet. Another farming limitation that is imposed on players to stop them over-farming things that you need to either exchange only one of the 3000-unit storages for the stuff that you might need, or dump the stuff from the other two, since they can't be exchanged. This is quality gameplay, Frontier? So I went off to the nearby starport to waste those materials through excessively unfair exchange rates for the few little things that I did need, and to upgrade my suit to grade 3. Still with no upgrades though, because those require some other settlements to be raided instead to get the final ingredients. Okay, so I thought fine, I'll go find those places that do drop those other rare things at the least for my backpack upgrade, if nothing else. So I went and raided exactly the same manner as before, a slightly different outpost. This is quality gameplay, Frontier. Then after about 3 hours, totaling of about 18 hours of total grind, I was still missing specific key ingredients that were super rare to drop, like anal Fabergé eggs or something. Something had to change. I went to the nearby starport, got my suit upgraded to grade 4, still with no upgrades mind you, and started skimming feat missions. Now you see, there are missions that provide, in addition to cash rewards, some materials instead. And happy me, there were some missions that did reward 1 or 2, sometimes even 5 units of those rare fucking materials that I needed. Now I could go back to raiding settlements and fucking hope that RNGesus the Bitchmaker will sprinkle in some few things that I need. Or I could at least try and target things that I did need, even if it would make a bit more time to do due to, constant traveling because of those missions. I chose to be pragmatic, so I started picking up missions, and around 24-hour mark I was finally able to get the last little bits to get 3 out of 4 upgrades I could put in the spacesuit. 24 fucking hours later, goddammit! And for the last 3 hours I was gathering the leftover materials for the grade 5 suit and the last upgrade itself. This is quality gameplay, Frontier.
For one, it's incredibly abusive. No, it's not asking for money. It's asking for so much of your time, so much of your attention, just so much of you doing subpar, unfun, repetitive gameplay. This is why I say that both this and engineering for ships is basically wasting the player's time to keep them struggling for that next update in the most unfun gameplay way as possible. It is a malicious design. It's malicious because it's it's not testing the player's skill or understanding of the game. Absolutely not. The only thing that it's testing is your patience, so that at the end, basically they can internally to their shareholders, or even publicly, brag like this.
And Elite Dangerous this year has performed better than ever. We've hit a record a number of times on the total number of players online at the same time, and we've crossed 4 million base game unit sales. But in addition, we had a free week on Epic's Games Store, which added a further 8 million owners to Elite Dangerous. So now we're over the 11 million mark. So really well set up for Odyssey, and something to really look forward to.
Fucking pathetic. In my book, grind is a sign of a lazy developer. A developer who either has not given enough time to do the job properly, or one that has stopped giving a fuck about everything they make. But back to my run. Fact of the matter is, I took the smart approach of things. I planned out my shopping list, and I knew where to gather the most things as fast as possible, and for the most part as efficiently as possible. So the thing is, most players won't do this. Most players usually spend twice, thrice, hell, maybe probably 5 times as much time to just upgrade a spacesuit, one thing at a time, going back and forth. And I highly doubt that in a normal gameplay, normal players will actually go and spend over 8 hours in one single settlement raiding it over and over and over again, just for one upgrade, or worse, just a part of it. Remember that in normal games, upgrading is a fun process that makes you giddy to finally get new gear every time you reach a meaningful point in the game. Also, usually each upgrade is sprinkled in just in the right moment when the old gear is getting too annoying or slow. And that's unfortunately not the case with Elite Dangerous, which is a game hell-bent on grabbing your precious time and will do anything and everything in its power to prevent you from getting back to a point where you could tolerate a little repetitiveness. It will give you subpar tools and set the goals so high that there is nothing but maliciousness left as the conclusion for the reasoning, as it fails the Hunlau's razor cause no one's this stupid to set these goals that high. You actively have to make these decisions. Basically, once you get the highest grade gear, only then the game manages to reach below OK sign. But before that, everyone starting with lesser gear, what do you think their experience will be? And that's not to mention the fact that in my force speed grinding, it took 27 hours. In this whole fucking time, you could literally finish the whole Half-Life 2 twice. A game that I have finished more than 7 times and still feels like a slog. Moreover, a game that is known for RNGs and stupid fun because of it, exactly how it handles it. The Borderlands 2, that takes 30 hours to finish. And yet in the same time, you'll be finishing grinding one spacesuit in Elite Dangerous. One spacesuit. So what do you think that says about Elite and its quote-unquote fun gameplay? It's fucking pathetic. Yes, Elite gameplay is slow, but even with that, actually, especially knowing that, wouldn't it make more sense to make less of a grind? Then there come the types trying to justify this gameplay by saying, but you don't have to grind it, you'll get those materials as you play. It's more fun that way if you don't force grind it. And frankly, I'm sick of these imbecilic rhetorics. No, you won't. You won't get these materials as you play it. It's specifically designed that you don't. Well, you may pick up a thing or two here and there. Each upgrade is specifically designed so that it includes at least one type of material ingredient that you specifically have to look for at the very least. Now, in a normal world, you would design these upgrades as a carrot at the end of the stick to encourage the players to do multiple types of activities, to kinda encourage them to try the whole game out, not just one thing. I talked about this in my mega engineering video, so go check it out, there'll be a link in the description. For space legs, the principle kind of is the same. However, just like with the ship engineering, this spacesuit crap and weapon crap for the legs is made by malicious pricks who use these good rules of game design and twist and abuse them in such a manner that anything that comes out the other end is the same as what comes out of the other end of a cow. Moreover, with the leg engineering, you have to make conscious decision to kleptomaniac everything in your as I play the game way. And not even then reach these upgrades, let alone do it in any adequate time frame. Quote unquote, your way of playing the game, you'll be lucky to be done by the 100-hour mark. And frankly speaking, Odyssey does not have anywhere near that much content to span 100 hours. Okay, but you don't need the highest grade levels to do the gameplay, right? Well, true. In the case of exobiology, there is no gameplay to speak of, so yeah, clearly you don't need upgrades at all. The kinda same goes with non-combat missions. You can barely do them with basic bitch tier level of stuff, with little to no differences. Well, unless you're talking about gathering those materials, in which case there is a need for an upgrade. But then we come to the combat, the most polished part of Odyssey. And boy oh boy, do you need those upgrades. Lest you're that kind of a lobotomized squirrel that thinks that bullet sponges are fun FPS games, you probably will get pretty annoyed by how hard and how long it takes to kill anything. And even with upgrades, it's disgusting. However, the bottom line is, the so-called designers did not just simply randomly make an upgrade system thinking that no one's gonna use it, right? I mean, only select Frontier Forums volunteer moderators are this dense to think this way. The fact of the matter is, these upgrades, game balance, weapon damage, character ability, speeds, and other little things, all of them have been made with no upgrades and highest upgrades in mind specifically. Although ship engineering begs to question that statement. Anyways, the point is, just like with microtransactions, these upgrades were not just simply made out of sheer whimsy of a silly developer one day. It's made with intent that this would be the majority player base's goal to reach. So the fact that you stopped at a grade 3 or whatever is basically you getting the first free hit of cocaine. It's easy to get, everything else though will cost you, and that thing is called your patience and time, not your skill or knowledge. And as for the good old dipshittery quote that goes something like this, but in MMORPGs the grind is... Just stop right there. I'm not interested in entertaining howling monkeys.
In the end, I find material requirements and thus directly translating to your involvement and wasted time, and yes I say wasted time rather than involved effort because of this. And on the maker's part this. I'm a designer! Takes absolutely no effort and is geared towards wasting your precious time as much as possible with as minimal effort from the maker's part. And yes, materials you collected along this route might be a good jump off point for next set of upgrades. However, considering that how invalidating of a gameplay feature it is to just simply take a hauler with some missile racks for anything that has to do with legs, yeah, makes Elite Dangerous Odyssey engineering for the legs themselves quite pointless and meaningless. Well, to put it in a quote that even American brains would understand. Well, engineering for Elite Dangerous Odyssey, the space legs, weapons, suits and stuff like that, it's beyond wasting your time. It's insulting of the player's time and intelligence. And there you go. So, big thanks to all the patrons who support and basically allow this sort of investigation to happen in the first place. So, if you want to join in on the bunch, well, there's a link down below indeed, which basically allows me to take a somewhat enough time out of my busy schedule to make these sorts of investigations rather than throwing shit at the wall, basically what Frontier does. However, I gotta ask Frontier to you directly. Is this the quality gameplay you're so proud of?